The following is a presentation of the Mat Talk Podcast Network.
It's time to go on the mat. The Cedar Valley's longest-running radio show devoted entirely to wrestling. Brought to you by Rolling Ford and the National Wrestling Hall of Fame Dan Gable Museum on 1650 The Fan.
You're listening to On the Mat. This is Jeff Bradley. We have the monthly UNI PWC Wrestling updates. We got three good guests today. We're going to have Brett Robbins, and I think we're lucky enough that Brett's going to stick around, kind of co-host with me through the next two guests, but he'll be my first guest. Second guest will be our varsity at UNI 197-pounder Jacob Holschlag. And a good tie-in there, we've got the guy that actually coached him in high school, Pat Hogan. Also a UNI wrestler, graduated around that 1989-1990 range, was a match away from being an All-American. But we'll talk to him about Union athletics and also his time at UNI. But first, we're going to start with Brett Robbins. Brett, how are you doing today?
Doing all right, Coach Jeff.
Okay. We need to talk about your wife that is pregnant.
Yep.
And I know it's about 22 or 23 weeks. That's what
22.
That's what I'd heard before. So you're in that, that 4.5, 5 month range, and I'm just going back and, with my two kids and my wife. Now, does your wife have any crazy cravings, any little wacky things she wants to do, mood swings, and anything like that?
Not right now. She's been pretty fortunate, no morning sickness, just one day where she's kind of felt pretty crummy. But as a whole, she's been pretty good. I mean, I haven't really noticed anything different or crazy as far as, she wants something to eat or go out and do something and get some food or whatever. But just noticed maybe some strange times at night she's getting up to snack a little bit. But, she's eating for two, and I understand. So I'll just feed that baby, make sure it's healthy, and, we just keep moving forward every day. But she's been a great sport. She's still teaching right now and just going through everything. And she's been really good about everything right now. So.
And we're not sure, girl or boy, so we haven't paid in any rooms, haven't got any clothes, anything like that, have we?
No, we're gonna hold out and wait and see what pops out, I guess.
We're gonna get a ton of stuff. A ton of grandparents are just gonna load down on you that few days right after the baby's born. Well, let's switch gears here. Let's talk a little PWC. So Panther Wrestling Club, Joey Laser, and for folks that might not remember Joey, he was an All-American for UNI a couple years ago. Real explosive, fun to watch, carefree attitude. But he's wrestling for the club now and with a goal of making, obviously, a world team. So he's had some competitions, has some things coming up. Want you to talk a little bit on that and see how Joey's doing.
So Joey went out and wrestled at the Dave Schultz tournament in Colorado Springs. It was in November. It switched dates this year, and he went out. He went 0-2, which is wasn't his goals or what he wanted to do. But he wrestled a couple of Koreans, and they ended up getting first and third. So they weren't slouches, but at the same time, Joey didn't give himself any real opportunities to win, and he'd tell you that too. I mean, he was pretty nerved up, and I think first time being out on the mat in a while, in months, and just having a little time off from competition got him a little bit, but. He's still got to give himself a chance to score, put himself in some stronger positions, and, just do more, really, because he didn't do a whole lot, and he'd say that. But, getting geared up for the new year, national team camp, get him to the Bill Farrell, which is the old New York AC tournament. That'll be at the, after the new year, and then also look to get him overseas to something, maybe Cuba or whatever tour they're going on, but get him on something where he can go and just get some experience, and then they usually have a training camp before or after, so he can go wrestle and get some feels from foreigners and continue to be some of the best guys in the country.
Yeah, I remember his senior year, and even going back before that, he fought those nerves. He kind of a roller coaster up and down.
Definitely.
But his senior year when he's All-American, I'm not saying he solved the puzzle, but it was pretty close. I mean, he was pretty even keel. Do you think more matches, a.k.a. going to Midlands, wrestling 5-6, collegiate matches or something like that would help with those nerves? Or Well, let's just get your take on that if you think that's an answer.
Well, I think getting out more is obviously better for him. Just being out in the competition in the open air and just kind of feeling it's better. But you don't see too many post-collegiate guys wrestling at Midlands right now. I think the last guy that did and was pretty successful was David Taylor a couple years ago. But, I mean, it might be something that'd be good for a guy like Laser because his style, he's kind of funky, and he'd have a lot of fun doing it, I know. And when he's having fun and just staying relaxed and controlling his emotions, he's pretty fun to watch. He's pretty tough to beat. But I think, just wrestling's wrestling. If that's something he'd want to do, I'd encourage him to do it. But Midland's coming up here pretty quick. But just, I think just him getting out there more, just being around better guys, getting more feel, and getting some good training phases in before some of these competitions is really going to shore up those issues for him.
So you talked about his style a little bit, and you're right. His wide open style, where in college, I might give up this takedown if I can reach back here and get this guy in a leg cradle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'll give up 2 to get 4. Well, freestyle, first of all, you're probably not going to get there, and if you do, the guy's going to end up burying you.
Yep.
So does he need a little bit of a style change? Does he need just more discipline in his own style? What's your take on that?
I just think more discipline within himself, and that's just because you can look at some of his matches in the past. I mean, 2 years ago at the trials, he's wrestling Morrison, and he was in a quad pod, and he hit a Granby roll right across his shoulders. And then last year against Ness, at the last chance, he's in on his legs, and it wasn't all the way to a takedown and laser leg pass, gave up 2, but came out on top, so he gave up 2 for 1, and then he got turned, so he's winning 3-2, but, Ness kind of put him on after that. So just more discipline as far as baseline defense, head and hands defense, getting his legs back first, and then maybe if guys try to get angle or try to do some things, he can kind of incorporate some of that funk or, what he feels in there, because he actually is pretty hard to score on, and he does make it really hard on guys, but when you start making it hard and then, make it easy for him by rolling to your back, you don't give yourself a chance. So just probably more discipline with himself, and then just continue to put himself in his strong positions or positions that he can score in.
All right, let's switch gears, talk you and I wrestling. We're, 4, 5, 6 weeks into the season now?
Yep.
Actually, right now we're on break until after Christmas.
Yep.
But let's revisit a few of the dual meets in the big tournaments we've had. And let's start about a month ago. We had Cornell on a Friday night, I believe, and then came home for North Dakota State. The Cornell dual meet ended up losing 30-10 to a pretty good young Cornell team.
Yep.
I didn't think you and I performed very well. I would think you thought the same thing. But one of the feature matchups was 141 with Albert and Yanni. And I think we were a little upset. Maybe Albert didn't compete great there. Come to find out, Yanni's a pretty tough customer.
That kid's the real deal. And, Josh, he admitted he thought he gave him a little too much respect probably that first match, kind of knowing his history and being pretty successful on some age-level world teams. And, Josh kind of he didn't wrestle his best match. And then at Vegas, it was just later on, but they wrestled in the finals. And, and Josh was like, I'm going to try to figure this out and try to put himself in position to win the match. But Yanni's the real deal. He beat Bryce Meredith, a finalist, a couple-time All-American from Wyoming. And the kid's wrestled really good all year. So nothing to take away from him, but, Josh trying to figure some things out with that guy right now.
And then, a little bit of it's a great thing that we moved to the Big 12. I think everybody agrees with that. But a little bit of the growing pains now is the scheduling for this year.
Yep.
So I think that played into, you've got Cornell on a Friday night, you fly home Saturday, and you got North Dakota State for your home Big 12 opener on Sunday. It was an okay performance, I thought, won by a couple points, the dual meet. Any highlights out of that dual meet you want to talk about?
At North Dakota, well, I thought some guys wrestled pretty well, and even some guys that had that lost, I thought wrestled okay. I thought Peyton Moore did all right. He got caught in a leg Turk off a takedown, which he'd made I relaxed there for a second. Boom, guy takes him down for 2 and 4, and that made the difference in the match. Guys like Taylor Lujan are always fun to watch. Guys going out there and just letting it fly, being able to score in a lot of different positions. Can take you down, can throw you, can score on his defense, put you to your back. So guys like that are always fun. And then Jay Schwarm, that guy just lets it fly. He doesn't care. He's like, whatever, I'm going to go out and scrap. And, he's a lot of fun to watch, and he kind of walks around with a little swagger or a little pep in his step, and lets his chest hair hang out. And, he's got his music going before, and, he just goes out there and lets it fly, which is a lot of fun. And then, a guy like Josh Alba right now, he's probably wrestling the best on our team. And, he came down to him and he went out there and scrapped, and, he got a big win for us. So, it was, overall, we weren't like super thrilled. I guess you could say we always want more out of the guys, but, we were able to get the win, and it was a lot of travel, but that's not a good excuse either, because, we think our guys can handle it. So that's why we set it up that way.
You're listening On the Mat, 1650 The Fan. I'm Jeff Bradley talking to Brett Robbins, assistant coach at UNI. Let's move to Cliff Keen Las Vegas Invite. That thing was what I'm calling it is a little national tournament. I mean, with the teams there, it's multiple days, so you have to weigh in multiple times. I think I read somewhere there was 100 ranked guys there in 10 weights.
Yeah, I mean, you could call it a mini national tournament, and that's probably a good word for it. But like you said, over 40 teams, over 100 ranked wrestlers. So you have, you roughly have 10 at a weight. And, I thought we wrestled pretty well. We had some matches get away from us where I thought guys could have won. Jay Schwarm, was in the semis. He's up 6-2, and kind of let the guy get back into the match, and then got a little flustered, and, just being able to control. So that's a good lesson for him. And maybe I guess if you look at it as a good lesson to have now versus, March. So he can learn from that. But he wrestled great. He beat a couple All-Americans. And just kind of his style and just being like, whatever, just going to let it fly. And he's a lot of fun to watch. Josh Alba was our finalist at 141. Like we said, he wrestled Yanni again. And that guy's a tough customer. He had a beautiful re-attack on him, and just kind of, how do you defend that? Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Because it was spot on, and, he got another takedown later on Josh, but Josh then was like, I'm going to figure this out and try to go after him and score, which I liked. It wasn't like, I'm going to sit back and take this. He was just, I'm going to figure this out, and went after the guy. But he wrestled great. He beat, an All-American Thorne. He beat Chad Red, a couple tough guys. They were ranked both in the top 10 at the time, and Josh knocked them both off consecutive matches. So it was a good performance from him. Max Thompson ended up fourth place. He lost to Heilman from North Carolina, and then he lost to Keyshawn Hayes, Ohio State, in the third place match. But Max figuring some things out right now and just getting back to his offense, kind of holding on a little bit, letting those hands hang a little too much, where it's kind of tying him up and not getting to his offense. So he's sorting some things out and figuring some things out right now, and just getting back to being like a words he liked to use a lot was being the best Max Thompson he can be. So just getting back to that and just letting it fly, and getting to his leg attacks, because he kind of is a gunslinger where he's like, I'm going to shoot a bunch, and just get back to that guy and just being tough. But there's a lot of time for it, and for him to say like he didn't wrestle once, still got fourth, that's pretty good. So he's going to continue to get better. I'll talk about Isaiah Patton for a second. He wrestled 65. He lost to two ranked guys, but he's a takedown away from beating both of them. He had a big match, a big win for us Monday night against North Carolina. But that guy, I think he's just going to get better, more time out on the mat, more confidence in himself, and just keep believing that he's pretty good and he belongs. I think he kind of maybe doesn't think that sometimes, and it's like, dude, you're really good. Yeah. Or you want to be here. So continue to get that guy better, and then go up to the bigger weights. And Taylor Lujan's a lot of fun to watch. Hit a big throw against Bernstein. He got the pin. They put it in the quarters to put him in the semis against the Heat, and then he gave him a scrap. It was a fun match to watch. Just got to give himself more opportunities, and then make sure he gets himself back up in those wrestle back matches, because he was a little flat. And we can take some of that heat too, making sure that he gets back up, but he's got to do it too, or want to do it himself. Drew Foster wrestled well. Wrestled Dean, got a win against him, who'd beat him in the duel. Beat some good guys, and he placed out there, and just getting back to where he's picking his spots better and hand fighting better and better setups and good finishes. And then a guy that's going to be on the show, Jacob Holschlag, and that guy was been on he's a little dinged up, and he was on the mat for about 3 or 4 days, and that's it for the whole month. And he's like, I'm going to go wrestle. And he got cleared, and that guy scrapped. He had 9 matches in 2 days, placed 4th, beat some good guys, and just being a tough, stingy wrestler, goes a long way for him. So continue to build his shape, and then just get him ready for all these duels and all these upcoming matches. But he's a gritty dude, man. He was a lot of fun to watch.
So let's bounce ahead then another week after that, our Open, the UNI Open.
Yep.
Boy, a ton of good Division I teams showed up. Let's talk about Bryce Steyert. He's a 2-time qualifier. He's redshirting this year, but he ended up winning that tournament.
Yep.
And I'll just tell you what he told me the day before. So it was Friday. He goes, I just want to go out and smash people. And he did. That's exactly what he did.
No, he did. And he, I think this has been pretty good for him as far as perspective and being able to give back to his team. Those are some things he talked about he wanted to do, and he's doing a good job. He's getting better in the room. He's helping guys out and giving back to the team and not just about himself. Whereas when he was competing all the time, he kind of thought of it like that. So, different perspective for him. But, he was our champ, but he wrestled pretty well. And I think just getting out there for him, the competition, because he wrestled at Harold Nichols, and he only wrestled 2 matches, because then the other 2 matches he ended up matching up with UNI guys, and he didn't compete. So he talked about wrestling, and we were like, all right, man, like full throttle, gas down, like you're just going to go and you're going to compete then. And he did a good job. He was our lone champ. So I know he's going to get better, and, there's a big tournament coming up here after the new year, and plans on going to that and wrestling, competing. So have him ready, and be ready to see some big things out of him.
And then just a couple nights ago, ACC opponent, North Carolina came in, Tar Heels. I think they're, depending on what ranking you look at, we're 12 and they're 20, we're 14 and they're 19.
Yep.
Competitive team, real good team, real good coaching staff. Beat them on criteria. Only have about a minute left. Just kind of your overall take, maybe grab a guy, talk about, but your overall take on West Gym, how that was, how the dual meet went.
Well, first, we have some incredible fans, so got to give a thanks to them and for coming up and showing up, because, they make that place hot and loud and rowdy and hostile. And, we had a great crowd for a Monday night. And so first, we got to give them thanks, because it is, you're right on top of the action. You're right close to the mat. Like, it's right there. But, it was a good meet. It was a good environment. They're well coached. They minimized some damage at some weights, which is good. That's good coaching on their part. Mm-hmm. They had some game plans. And for us, I think in some of the matches, just give ourselves more opportunities. We kind of sat back a little bit too much, I thought. And then, we had some matches where, you think you're going to win and you didn't.
Will you just sit tight there, Brett? We'll be back on the mat with Jacob Holschlag.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. When all you want is sports, all you need is 1650 The Fan.
Welcome back to On the Mat. Second guest will be Jacob Holschlag, a sophomore from LaPorte City Union High School in LaPorte. 197-pound wrestler at UNI. We also have got Brett Robbins here. He was my first guest. He's going to stick around. So, Jake, you there, Jacob?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Hey, welcome to On the Mat. Now, I'm not going to call you Jacob the whole show, but I have to get your blessing on this. Can I just call you Hog the rest of the 20 minutes?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So, a.k.a. Jacob Holschlag, a.k.a. Hog. So when I say Hog, it's not an offensive term. It's a term of endearment. We like it in the wrestling room, but that's what I'm going to be saying. Hey, we're going to start out with the 2 toughest questions of the whole interview, Hog, and they're from my kids, because you're a first-time interviewee. My daughter wants to know what your favorite color is.
My favorite color is green.
That's the first time we've had anybody say green. And what they do say is green shows higher intelligence. I don't know if that's true or not.
That fits. Come on.
And then you know my son Jake. He's got a 2-parter. He wants to know your favorite move, and then nothing related to wrestling. Just wants to know what your favorite food or meal is.
Okay. So my favorite move, Probably when I'm on top, I like putting the boots in and putting the power half on some dudes. That's my favorite move. And my favorite meal, my mom makes a pretty mean pot roast.
Is that right? Nice. Good pot roast. All right. So let's go back to that favorite move. Obviously I know you want to turn the guy and you want to get back points and get the fall, but do you find, or do you derive just as much happiness from just putting both those legs in and just kind of pounding a guy and putting him in misery?
There's definitely some, I really enjoy just once I get the boots in, and then once you control them for a little bit and get them flat and you just know, like, yeah, you got them, you broke them, they're not really moving. I don't really like being in control there, you know. It does feel pretty good, I'm not going to lie, and just isolating them down there and just knowing that, like, they're not going to get up until I let them up, you know. Really like that.
Hey, so let's go back to when you were just a youngster. Approximately how old were you when you started wrestling, and how did it come about?
I was 4 or 5. I think I was at a babysitter, and some kids that went to my babysitter with me were like, hey, you want to come spend the night? I was like, yeah, sure. And their dad was like, well, he's spending the night, he's going to go to wrestling practice with us. So I went to wrestling practice like a couple times that year, and I liked it. So then my dad took me the next year, and I really liked, you know, rolling around, being around other kids and stuff. So that's about how it started, was just a kid and my babysitter was going to go, and I wanted to spend the night, but I had to go to wrestling practice if I was going to go spend the night there.
So then were you kind of hooked, or was it just, I mean, that was your first experience, and then did you go, man, this is kind of fun when you're like 5 and 6 and 7, or is it just like you're just a little kid and you're just, man, I'm just having fun with my buddies, you know?
Yeah, I'd say the day I was hooked was I remember getting, like, not paying attention all practice, and then, like, came down to the end, and we always do, like, King of the Mat, or, you know, how every little kids club does King of the Mat once in a while, you know. We did King of the Mat, and I was like, oh, yeah, this is it, you know. But I didn't listen to all practice. I didn't have any idea what I was doing. I got bear hugs in my back, and I was like, Dad, what happened? Like, why did I get bear hugged? And he's like, you didn't listen to all practice. Like, you got to learn to do the moves. So I learned to do the moves, and then I came back the next time, and we did that King of the Mat, and I freaking crushed it. And from then on, I was like, yep, this is what I want to do.
So then did you have, growing, elementary school, and then starting to get into that junior high age AAUs, did you have a ton of success? Were you winning all the little kids tournaments or placing in AAUs?
I mean, yeah, I placed a lot. I won a couple times. So I was in there in the mix. I always had troubles when I was on the younger half, because it goes 3rd and 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. I always had trouble. I made round of 12, 3rd, 5th, and 7th grade year. Never get it done on the younger half, and then I think I won once, got 3rd twice, I believe.
Yeah, I think you see a lot of kids do that, though, don't you? Where they're just, even in that little, 10 to 11 age, you're not quite there at 10, but 11, you're good enough to place, and then you go younger again at 12, and you're losing all the 13-year-olds, or you're close. But then when they age out and you age up, then it's it's a little better fight, and you end up placing or winning. Yeah,
that extra year, it does a number on you. It really does. Them kids are just a little bit more mature, a little bit bigger, stronger. And I was just never ready for that. I don't think. If I was right there, never pull her out.
So still around that time of that elementary going into junior high, who was probably the 1 or 2 big influences on you just pertaining to wrestling?
Just pertaining to wrestling around that time? Well, I mean, definitely my parents, for sure. They took me to everything. We did a tournament every weekend for 4 months or whatever it was. I was getting hundreds of matches in a year. And then I remember Mark Thompson was at every single practice. He was at every tournament that we were at. He was taking us to places too. And then obviously Bart was there a lot, Bart Mailer. He was in there beating us up in practices.
So now we've got, you've got two siblings. So I look at it like, and I know they both wrestle too, so I almost look at it like a huge family affair. I mean, your younger brother Derek, who's now at UNI also, but also your sister Caitlin wrestled, I know, for a number of years. Now, I don't want to embarrass you, but I do want you to tell the truth. Was there a certain time that Caitlin was the best wrestler in the family?
I mean, I would say that, but you know what? I do remember one year, I think it was it might have been my 7th grade year. And, the state here in Iowa, it's a 2-day it's a 2-day ordeal. If you make it, you place the next day. And I remember, I think Derek and I were both sitting up in the stands watching our sister place. I think it might have been my 7th grade year. It would have been Derek's 5th grade year, I believe. We were both watching while Caitlin was getting on the stand.
Well, I think that answers my question then, doesn't it? Caitlin,
I don't know if he was, Derek, I think Derek had to bump a weight, so they weren't at the same weight at districts or whatever it was. But yeah, she placed that year and neither of us did. That was pretty heartbreaking.
Well, I know she was pretty good because I've actually talked to some guys around her age, and they said when they were really young, they'd dodge her. They would weigh in either lower or heavier. And I go, man, is that right? And these guys are pretty good wrestlers, so that's pretty cool. It's a family affair. You're listening On the Mat with Jeff Bradley and 197-pound varsity wrestler, University of Northern Iowa, Jacob Holschlag, a.k.a. The Hog. Let's fast forward all the way to high school now. Junior year, you're having a pretty good year. You get to state, you win 3 matches, and then I think you wrestle UNI's Drew Foster in the finals. Is that correct?
Yep, that's right.
And it was a good match. I remember watching that. I think it was 3-2 if I remember right. Just talk that through, and obviously you guys probably weren't buddies then, but you've got to be buddies now. Talk about that finals match and what it felt like, kind of going into it, preparing for it, and how it felt to win that first state title.
Yeah, I mean, that was a big year of growth there. Went into the tournament. I think I was ranked 4th in the state, and I remember I had a really tough quad or whatever. Because the first match wasn't any world beat or anything, but then my second match was either going to be the Albia kid or Voss.
Yeah, Albia was that Leishman kid, I think. So he's good.
Yep. He was good. He was athletic. He's a real good wrestler. It was him and that Voss, and they were 2 and 3 in the state. And so I had one of them right away. Get through those matches, have a really good semifinals. I think I teched my kid, and then I had Foster in the finals. And I mean, I'd heard about him. I never really wrestled him or anything, but it was a really good match there, 3-2. But yeah, nothing beats that first state title. Nothing beats that first state title.
I mean, I know it's
a
huge sense of excitement, but was it kind of a relief thing, or was it you're a little bit under the radar at number 4, so it wasn't, there wasn't that much pressure, so maybe it was just pure excitement and pure happiness?
Yeah, I mean, there was no, I felt pretty relaxed going into my finals match. I didn't hype it up or anything. I was just pretty excited to be there, and then once I won, I mean, it was all just man, all that work, then it paid off, and it was a really good feeling. It was one of the best experiences for me.
So then we move to your senior year. You're going after your second title. Coach talked, Pat Hogan, and he said, that you wanted to go to the Clash just to wrestle other state champs from other teams, which I thought that's exactly what I think about when I think about you just wanting to get the competition. But you roll through that bracket. I think you pin everybody until the final, and that's a major. And tell us about that second title, and then I've got a follow-up question after that.
Yeah, so my thoughts going into senior year was, like, I just wanted to dominate everybody. Like, I wanted everybody to know that, like, I was the man, you know. My real goal, I wanted to be 2A Wrestler of the Year. But old Maxie beat me to that one. That was my goal. I was like, I'm going to get this thing. I think he won my junior year or whatever. So I was like, I didn't know if he could repeat win, but I was like, it's going to be mine if I'm going to do it. So I wanted to wreck my way through everything. So I remember Max and I and a couple other guys on the team were like, hey, like, if we want to accomplish our goals here, we got to seasoned, and I think we need to go to the Clash. It's like, all right, then we're going to go to the Clash. I remember texting him, and then we had a good year. Went to state. We won state duels the night before state, and then I had a real good state tournament. Played a bunch of dudes. Had a major in the finals. I was hoping to score some more points, but I won a state title, but then we ended up getting second at state traditional, which was not what we wanted, because going into the year, it was like we had a really good senior class, great senior class. We had, I don't even know, we had like 15 or something seniors. We had a bunch. So the whole goal the whole year was, all gold everything. Yeah. We wanted to sweep gold and everything and walk out of there, that 2015 class was, best union class ever is what our goal was, and we fell a little bit short there.
So, Hog, it's Robbins here. So talk about your room a little bit, and some of those partners you had, and who pushed you and who helped you out.
At Union before?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I had a tough room. My sophomore year, I don't think I won, because we'd wrestle 3 matches just about every day in the room. I don't think I won a match in the room all year, and I got 4th that year at state. So it was a tough room, and then my senior year, I think I wrestled, Bart, Max, and like Chris, who's another coach, just about every day. So it was a tough room. We had Max at 45. McLaughlin, he was a place winner the year before. He got a bit of a short straw his senior year, but he was a pretty good wrestler. We had Shirk. He was a bigger guy. He was scrappy, just a gritty, tough, short, like muscled up little dude, but he was scrappy. And Jay Sadchek, I believe he was 220. He was tough, really big, strong, athletic kid. But yeah, the intensity in the room that year was incredible. Everybody in there was pretty good at wrestling, and then there was like a toughness and a swagger there too, confidence. So it was a tough room. You had to be on your game, or you're going to get beat up.
So, Hog, talk a little bit about, now you're 2-time state champ. Hey, I want to wrestle in college. I know University of Iowa talked to Northern Iowa, Northern Illinois. How did you narrow it down and decide to come to UNI and be a Panther?
Yeah, I mean, I took all my visits and stuff, and I think from the beginning I just knew I was like, UNI is my spot. I just stayed with all the dudes on the team. The coaching staff was awesome, really good, diverse coaching staff. Talking to Doug, the guy will get you to run through a frickin' wall, and then you talk to Randy, and he's pretty laid back and easy to talk to. So, pretty good mixture. And then the guys on the team were just nice dudes, and then it just felt like family, It really does. And I know that's pretty cliche. You hear that a lot from a lot of different people, but you and I, it really felt like family. Like these guys are going to be there for you, through everything. That's how I felt it was.
So, Hog, you're on break right now, back in the port. So let's say you get your hands on Bart Maylert. Do you pin him? Do you tech him? Do you major him? What happens?
It's going to be tech pin, probably.
A tech pin?
Yeah, tech pin.
Because I know Bart thinks he still got it.
He does not still have it. Okay, I'm telling you, you're going to catch a beating here. I owe him about 50.
Hey, Hog, we got just less than a minute left here. I mean, you've beaten some guys in your redshirt year that were, top 10, top 15 guys. You've done it this year, and, after your injury, you're just getting rolling. What's it going to take to get you on the stand, top 8, and ultimately be a national champion?
I mean, for me, I think controlling my emotions is huge. Being in the weight room, getting size on me is, that's a big thing. And then just like Doug always says, consistency over time. And I don't know if there's another dude out there who consistently puts as much work in as I do. I think it'll pay off. So just consistency over time, putting that weight on, getting bigger, getting stronger, and then just being able to control my emotions and be the best me I can be, I suppose.
All right, man. I'll see you in a week. Have a good break, and we'll be back on the mat.
Log on and listen online at 1650thefan.com, the online home of 1650 The Fan.
Welcome back to On the Mat. I'm Jeff Bradley. My co-host, Brett Robbins, assistant coach at UNI. Third and final guest today, Pat Hogan. He was a UNI grad of 1989, three-time national qualifier, round of 12 his senior year. We'll talk about that. He probably doesn't want to talk too much about it, but we will talk about it. And he actually coached the guy that we just talked to, Jacob Holschlag, the Hog. So, Pat, are you there?
I'm here.
How's your day going today, my friend?
Good. I got a little cold, but I'm doing all right.
So we had to do this with Jacob, and I have to do it with you. So you're a first-time guest, and the first two questions are always my kids. So Morgan, and you know both my kids, so it's probably pretty easy for you to answer this. Morgan wants to know your favorite color.
Purple, baby.
That's a good answer.
Like it.
Now, Jake, he thinks he's all full of himself. He's got two questions. Your favorite move, and you better go back a few years, or else, I know you haven't hit a knee for probably ever. So your favorite move, but also your favorite food or meal.
Oh, my favorite move has got to be the snap down, go behind.
Nice.
And my favorite meal, I think a good golden china meal is pretty good.
Golden china,
Okay.
nice.
Chinese?
Yep.
Good answer.
Yeah.
So let's start. We're going to do a little chronology here. Kind of how did you start wrestling? I know you lived in Gilbertville, so you almost have to. And I'm assuming it's probably you got brought in by your older brother, Mike, but I want you to kind of talk through how you got introduced to the sport of wrestling.
It would probably be through, my older brother, Mike. First of all, I grew up in Washburn, so you can't, I was about 3 miles away from Gilbertville.
No, I know that, and I apologize right now.
Yeah.
You're a Washburn guy.
All
yeah.
right.
Real small.
But, I was pretty much, it was destiny for us. Gilbertville and wrestling, and Mike, my older brother, was into it. And, we started chumming around with guys at a pretty young age. And, dads would take us to the area tournaments. And away we went. That was about how it started, and it just continued from there.
And then when you were, fairly young, like grade school, middle schoolish, were you, because tournaments have changed so much now. I remember if we did 3 or 4 tournaments, go to Fort Dodge for the holiday tournament, it was huge. Wow, now everything's a national tournament, and there's 5, 6 tournaments every weekend. Did you wrestle a ton when you were younger, and did you have a lot of success?
We did not wrestle. There was most of them were local, Hudson, those type of tournaments. Independence always had the Mini Mustang was always a big one that they gave away the big award. So that was one you had to hit. And, success-wise, it was it was fun for us. I don't recall how much success we all had, but, we had fun doing it. So, we continue to do so.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. I think we've lost a little bit of that. I think that everybody's about winning, and at that age, it's not so much about winning. It is enjoying the experience with your friends and actually just getting better, being a better competitor.
Oh, I agree. I mean, competing is a big. I mean, you got to learn to compete in a lot of things, and I think that's just a stepping stone to future stuff not involved with wrestling or activities or anything. But and again, we had a good group of guys that how important that is, the community and everyone being together and that kind of stuff. So that was big for us back then also.
So you did go to Don Bosco High School. You won a state championship. I know Ray Fox won the first one. What number were you?
Oh, geez. I don't know that off the top of my head.
Were you top, like the first set of 10 maybe? I think
so.
I think you probably were too.
So.
And, there's been a ton after that, but that's kind of brand new. So talk a little bit about, winning an individual state championship and what that felt like.
Oh, it was, freshman through junior year was, I think I expected more and didn't accomplish some things. So coming into the senior year, it's kind of like, well, this is, your last shot type deal. And, winning it obviously was special. It's kind of hard to describe, but obviously that was my goal. Like I say, my brother Mike had won a title when he was a junior. So I'm not saying there's pressure there, but, expectations and so on. But, obviously in that room, you're surrounded with a lot of good kids and good workout partners. So that always helps also.
So then you win your state championship, and did you know you wanted to wrestle in college, or was it a thing like you and I came calling, a couple other schools came calling, and you had to make this decision when Coach Briggs showed up?
No, I pretty much knew. They got a hold of me, and I hadn't had a visit, and there's other schools that talked to me, but after my visit there, I pretty much decided that was the direction that I wanted to go. It wasn't a hard decision.
And then, like I said, you were a 3-time qualifier, national tournament. Some of the best matches, and you're probably not going to want to hear this, but some of the best matches I saw you wrestle actually were against Tim Krieger from Iowa State. And it's funny because I ran into him years after we graduated, and he actually told me that. He goes, I don't know what it was with Pat Hogan, but he goes, that guy fought me harder, and it was a style thing, and I struggle with him all the time. So talk through a couple of those Krieger matches. I know you came out on the bad side of it, but, man, there were some fun matches to watch.
Yeah, some were competitive, some were not, which, obviously that's a high level there. I don't know. It was just, the Iowa State duels were always big. I think we were prepared pretty well for those, so maybe that had something to do with it. And it's just fun to wrestle in that atmosphere.
And then senior year, you get on a little bit of a roll at national tournament, get all the way, we're round to 12, and you're wrestling that Navy guy. And if I remember right, that even went overtime.
That was New Mexico kid.
Or New Mexico, I'm sorry. And so obviously heartbreaking. I mean, you're real close to being an All-American, but did you ever play that through, for 5 years in your head, or was it just like, hey, I gave it a shot, had a good run, and I was just a match short?
Yeah, I would say that's true. I mean, 5 years is probably not enough.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
but it was tough. But you know what? You go compete, and you get what you get.
So then you graduate at UNI, and I think it was your first coaching job was at Union, wasn't it? And I could be wrong on that. So tell me the chronology of your coaching. Was it straight to LaPorte City?
No, actually, right out of college, I got a call from Dick Walker at Wartburg, and I got a job there. And tragically, he died in a car accident. And so for that 1 year filled in, I was fortunate enough to coach with Coach Siddons. Worked there for a year, and then following that came the Millboy era at Wartburg. So I was, again, fortunate enough to work with him for, I think, 3 years after that, and then on to Union.
So I think when you stuck around Millboy up there, your younger brother Tom was up there, right? So you were coaching him and got to see him win a national championship, correct?
I did, yeah. That was a special evening, I would say. Yeah, we had fun out at the Coast Guard there. I was fortunate enough to share that with him. So it was a good experience.
So then at what point did you say, okay, I love the Division III atmosphere, love coaching with Millboy, but now I'm going to be my own guy and go to LaPorte City?
Well, it was a job situation. I was fortunate enough to get a job at the middle school. So I started there as a middle school coach at Union for 7 years, 7 years, and then moved on to the high school with Coach Ingvall.
Well, when I think of LaPorte City Union and your Don Bosco ties, then I coached at Bosco for a few years too. I remember some of those duels. I don't know if you can pick out one or two that were real good, but they were all pretty competitive and some great duels. But I also remember, I think when I came back to you and I here, it was you and you and Tom, both head coaches, coaching against each other. And I remember seeing a picture of your mom in the paper, Gert, and you guys were cool enough that you let her flip the coin, and she was wearing a shirt that said Union on the front and Bosco on the back or something like that. But talk a little bit about that whole experience. And I would think nerve-wracking, but really fun at the same time.
Yeah, they were some fun duels. Yeah, Mom had the special shirt made with the half Union, half Bosco, and we got her to get out there and flip the coin. Which is kind of neat. Yeah, we've come up on the short end of some of those, but won a couple in there also. But they're always competitive, and actually that's coming up tomorrow night. We duel Bosco, so we'll go at it again. So
talk a little bit about your decision to you were head coach there for years, and you stepped back, and now you're an assistant to Bart Maylert. What was your decision-making process there?
I've been here for 12 years as a head coach, and, Bart has put a lot of time in, he's got young ones. He's got a freshman now and a younger boy, and he did a lot of the little kid stuff. And he was working with the kids a lot in the summers also. And, I think it's just time to let him do his thing. And it's been a good choice, I think. I mean, he's got him going, and I'm comfortable with it.
That's good. I actually look across the landscape at coaching sometimes, and I think more guys ought to do that, step back a little bit and let some new blood in, have a fire in their belly and let them run with it, So I commend you.
I'm glad to be part of it still. I'm happy to be there, and it's going well.
So your wife, Carrie, pretty good athlete in her day, still runs quite a bit. I know you're a good athlete. You're a good wrestler, good baseball. You're good slow pitch softball. Pretty much everything you ever did, you were good at. Your 3 daughters are good. Your daughter, Sydney's a gymnast at Iowa, Taylor state champion in tennis and good softball player in Avery. So my question is, can you look at it realistically here and say that you are the worst athlete in the family?
I'm going to say that. Yes, I will say that. Yeah, they're pretty talented. I'm pretty proud of all of them. And you're right, Carrie had a lot to do with it also. But I will go with your analysis that I am the worst athlete in the family, yes.
Well, I'm just kidding. You're a good athlete, man. That's a talented family you got there. Congratulations. Hey, we just have a couple minutes left, Pat. So I want to ask you about a couple guys, obviously, on our team, and you know them well. Let's start with Max Thompson.
Yeah. Max, when that group came into the room, it was from a coaching standpoint, it's pretty easy. With the experience those guys had. Max obviously was well traveled and had a lot of experience coming in. So from a coaching standpoint, it's like, okay, we got to basically train now, and like I say, it makes it easy on a coach. And
then talk a little bit about Jacob Holschlag too. That's up at UNI, and you coached him for his entire high school career.
Yeah, he's kind of the same mold. I mean, both those guys are high level coming in. Holschlag, he'd say he just as much, go outside as opposed to wrestling. It's tough wrestling him.
Right.
He was just ornery, which is great. And, obviously they're doing well up there.
Yeah, was it just pure enjoyment coaching those guys? Because you're going to get 100% effort. It just had to be great.
Yeah. I mean, and like I say, that group was a good group with seniors. That whole class had some experience, and guys filling in and that kind of stuff, which made the dual situation, we were more competitive there also.
Right. Well, Pat, that's just about our time, man. I really thank you for taking the time out of your day, and good luck tomorrow night against Bosco.
Thanks, Tyler.
And thanks for listening to On the Mat. Good night.
You've been listening to On the Mat, the Cedar Valley's longest-running radio show devoted entirely to wrestling. Brought to you by Rolling Ford and the National Wrestling Hall of Fame Dan Gable Museum on 1650 The Fan.
This show is part of the Matt Talk Podcast Network. For more wrestling podcasts, head over to MattTalkOnline.com.